Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Why You Worried About It. This is a journey towards a better you. I'm Lindsay Bush. I'm the HR director for Crossroads Counseling.
And hey, everybody, I'm Susie Arbo, and I am a therapist. And we are so excited to be back again today. We have had so much fun with this podcast, and it's fun to hear people kind of talking about some of their favorite episodes so far. And we always are trying to grow as humans, as we always kind of tell people. And we are on this journey, like you said, about learning as much as we can, being our best selves.
Yep, help each other and help ourselves along the way. I mean, that's the purpose for sure. And we appreciate everybody, all the feedback. And reminder that if you do have any topics that you want to hear about, please let us know. We love to speak on what you want to hear about, not just to hear ourselves talk. So let us know what you guys want to hear.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And today we have somebody that's kind of joining in with us, and she's a very near and dear friend of mine now for many years, actually since 2008, which seems unreal. You want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Jewels. Happy to be here. Excited to chat.
That's right. That's right.
We love TJ.
Yeah, so TJ, we call her TJ. Her real name is Tiffany, but she is from like North Kansas City area, and now you kind of are out in California. You want to tell them about that?
Back and forth, a little seasonal. So, Palm Springs area when it gets cold and gray, and then Kansas City when the desert heat tries to kill us all.
That's right. It looks beautiful out there and whatnot. So we're happy she can join us. She's just been so fun to be friends with over the years, and I always joke that she kind of is like that friend that introduces you to new experiences and gets us out of the country and into the city, and like we have fun experiences together and stuff. And I think everybody needs a friend like that you can just be real with. And last week we actually covered friendships, and that was so fun to talk about. But yeah, so she's going to kind of be joining in a little bit, and your background too, like you have training in Reiki.
Mhm.
And so what else have you all do?
Mindful meditation and personality strength test assessments. So,
You're into helping people too be a better version of themselves.
absolutely.
We love it. We love it. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, today we are talking about our feelings.
Yay.
And and some people love talking about our feelings, and some people get very scared and very nervous. So we know that. But I always joke that God gave us all these feelings for a reason, and every day we're on this emotional roller coaster, where some days we're feeling great and some moments we're feeling great, and then sometimes it's just like, oh my gosh, life is hard and we have intense feelings that are negative or bad. And so we're kind of all trying to figure out how to manage these feelings. And I'm a therapist, so I deal with feelings all day every day, and I love it. But I know I go talk to like these construction groups and some of these manufacturing companies, and I start talking about feelings, and you can just feel people be like, oh, this is so uncomfortable, like I don't want to touch them. But that can actually too not be a good thing if people don't deal with their feelings well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now, I'm dealing with the feelings with my own feelings every day, obviously, but then with raising two little ones and having feelings it is a literal roller coaster. You can have the nicest little human next to you at 1 second, and 2 seconds later, it's a little demon running around. So it's very interesting to have all the feelings sometimes, in a 30-second span. It's fine. And sometimes we don't know why we have these feelings. So I find it really interesting to try to help people or help my kids right now understand their feelings. And it's okay to have a feeling. It's okay to be mad, but it's how we react to our feelings. Yeah. So it is definitely it's a deep dive into the feelings conversation.
It really is. It really is. And what happens so many times, I think, in life is like we shove things under the rug. Like something bothers us, and we're like, oh, I don't have time to deal with it. I have to go to work, or I have to, go do this or that. So you just shove them under the rug, and it's like you shove them under the rug, and you just keep doing that. And then it's like all of a sudden, the analogy of like the pop bottle when, you have the lid screwed on tight, and then you shake it up and you take off that lid, and what happens? It goes everywhere. And that's kind of what can happen is we just let it go and let it boil. And then, yeah. So I always tell people, and I truly believe this because I know this, that one of the best coping skills we have as humans is to talk about what's bothering us, or just even just get it out of our body. If you're not a talker and this makes you uncomfortable to talk about your feelings, even just like writing them down. I know Tiffany and I were at an event yesterday and I had them do this little exercise where I made them write out anything that was bothering them, and then, kind of what they were going to do about it. And they weren't super, probably like talkers about their feelings, but just to have that little peace of mind, just even writing it down, or going for a walk and praying about it, or whatever, talking to their animal about it, talking to their loved one or a best friend or something can be so huge.
Mm-hmm.
So do either one of you guys have any experiences about that?
Well, I was going to say in my mindfulness training that they also talk about how just naming an emotion can immediately take out some of that power right out of your body. So when you are feeling really charged, just being able to identify, like, well, what are you feeling? Are you angry? Are you sad? So just naming that emotion in itself is a start.
Hmm. I'm so glad you said that. There's actually an exercise that's called Name It to Tame It. Yeah. And so it's whenever you have like a big feeling, you put it with a name, and then that's the first step, the awareness. So I love that you said that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
that's
good. Name
great.
it to tame it.
I like that. I'm glad that you said that there's different ways to get it out, because I know I'm a big talker and I love communication. And if I feel a certain way, sometimes it's uncomfortable and hard to have those conversations, but I always feel so much better after I do. But my little mini me, 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old, is a backpacker. Like you said, she wants to hide all her emotions and put them away if they're bad. So I'm like, I don't know how to get somebody to talk that doesn't want to talk. And, if I want to have those conversations with her, it makes her uncomfortable, or she doesn't like it, and I don't want to force that on her. So I love that you shared, some different ways to do those things. I've also seen like those journals where you can write back and forth with your kids. It's crazy to me the day we live in right now, but like I can get her to communicate better with me through text. If I know she's upset and feeling some type of way and I can't get her to really communicate with me verbally, I'll shoot her a text, maybe 30 minutes later after she's calmed down or whatever. And usually I can have a really good conversation with her that way. So it seems a little impersonal and not necessarily what I like, but it's what she's comfortable with. So,
Yeah. Yes. Some people are much more comfortable, like you said, like using our phones or whatnot, or even just like I'm a writer too. I'll leave a little note sometimes or type an email, that kind of thing, and can be a good thing. And Lindsay, we always preach the 24-hour rule
mhm.
that if you're really heated and whatnot, you probably
Oh
shouldn't send
yeah.
anything in that moment, because even just a couple minutes later or an hour later or a day later, you're going to feel so much different than you
Yep.
do right in that moment when you're upset. So that can be a huge thing. There's a little saying I learned recently, and I'm going to share it with you guys. You guys have probably heard it before. I don't know why I didn't, but it says, "When in doubt, talk it out." When in doubt, talk it out. So a little kind of saying like, you know what, if you think that maybe there's something going on, or you're feeling a certain type of way, just talk about it, and have those conversations. Even if they'll be difficult, usually you leave a conversation feeling like, oh, it went better than I thought it would, you know?
Yep. You build it up in your brain, make it way worse than it actually is most of the time. And we've talked about it in one of our other ones, but eat that frog, have that conversation, do it. And it's always, the more you think about it and dwell on it, you're going to ruin your whole day if you just, or anything, just meet it head on. Have those, the communication really just in whatever form that needs to be.
Absolutely. Only way out is through.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. We also know that we're going to have conflict with people, with our loved ones, with people we work with, with children, whoever those relationships are. We are going to have just different things that we don't see eye to eye on. And so recognizing those feelings that we talked about, first of all, is a first step. And then talking about it or expressing that in a healthy way. I believe that anything can still be said with respect. Even if you're mad about something, even
Oh,
if you're royally,
absolutely.
upset, you
Mhm.
can still discuss it in a decent way, and
Hmm.
whatnot. And so doing that, and then also just coming up with solutions, right? I mean, how much better is life when we focus on not our problems or what's bothering us, but really what we're going to do about it, having those solutions
Hmm.
in place.
Yep. How you going to move forward? And like TJ said, move through it. What are you going to do about it? We can talk about it all day, the actual problem, but what's the solution?
Yep. And then isn't it true, guys, that isn't there like lots of ways that people can have win-win situations or compromise? It doesn't have to be just one way or the other. There's lots of different ideas of how things can work out for people. And if the first way doesn't work, guess what? We'll try another way, right?
Yeah, everybody's very different.
Mm-hmm.
Coming at things with more of a curiosity mind versus judgment. So for your
Yeah.
solution, like Susie said, if it's not working that first time, that's okay. It doesn't mean it was bad, or, just shift and try something different.
Mm-hmm.
Be more curious and open and fact find and explore, make it more fun. It doesn't have to be a heavy situation. Come at it from a curiosity mind.
I love that. And sometimes when you get more information from people, then you learn where they're coming from, and then you can kind of see a little bit more of, okay, this is why he said that, or he comes from that. And even just looking, the therapy side of me always says people are the way that they are because of their past. Whatever like trauma they lived through, or whatever hard things or good things that have happened to them, they behave in a certain way because of their past. And so giving them a little bit of grace too, to realize that they're human and that they're handling the situation in the way that they think that they should. And it might be totally different than the way you would handle it, or me, or Lindsay. And so I think just kind of giving people a little bit of slack in that way too, and realizing our way isn't always the right way. It's just what we
Yeah.
think too in that moment, and how we handle our own feelings. And we get a lot of that from like who raised us, right? Like our families and our caregivers that brought us up in this world. And some of it was good and healthy. Some of it might have not been the best. And you get to, as an adult, figure out what's good and what serves you and what's healthy and what's not. And if you had some bad stuff happen or whatever when you were young, you get the choice when you turn 18 and you leave that home. How are you going to work through those feelings, and how are you going to deal with them in a healthy way? And like me and Lindsay always preach too, there's lots of different ways. Like you can do it obviously through therapy, and it's a wonderful way, but man, there's so many different ways to get better as a human in those areas.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of those ways.
There's tons of resources. I mean, if you can even pinpoint a specific thing, and I guarantee you're going to find a resource out there that can help you, a workbook or a book or a podcast or something somebody else has probably dealt with or going through something similar to what you're dealing with. So why try to recreate the wheel and put a lot on yourself? Go out there and look for it. It's there. A lot of it's free at your fingertips anymore. So there's lots of those. I love a good workbook, though. I know Susie's a fan too. So those are always good to get your thoughts out. I think that's a really good resource.
Hmm. Podcasts. I learned so much through podcasts and Audible books, even meeting with a coach, or even things like if you have really intense emotions and you're trying to figure out where they come from, you might have something going on, that even a medication to help with your anxiety or depression or that kind of stuff that can bring some of those intense feelings, is they're very safe. And, people take them for a lifetime and they can really help, or sometimes people take them for a season, but there's no shame in that either. Like there's a lot of really good things out there that you can do to help yourself.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed at all.
I think journaling, getting out,
Mhm.
kind of some of those things. And kind of the last thing I think we're gonna hit on is being vulnerable with your feelings and being real. And that's something I know, Lindsay, you and me have had lots of conversations about lately.
Mhm.
Like we want to make this really real and relatable. Merle the other day, he kind of called me out on it in a good way, but he just said, you know what, Susie, because I was worried about having this, not this meeting, another meeting that I was doing. And I was worried because there was something that I didn't know that I had learned later. Anyways, long story short. And he said, just be real. Says, you don't have to be perfect, right? Like just tell, whatever. And I try to own, when maybe I don't know everything or whatever, but it just was kind of a good thing that, what, sometimes we are going to fail, or we're not going to be perfect. And it's okay to let people see
Mhm.
that side too, because
Yes.
we have lots of failures every day, and we learn so much from them, hopefully, right?
Yeah, that's the goal for sure. Yeah. And I love that you said just owning all of the feelings and acknowledging them. Like you said, God gave us all these feelings for a reason. So, I mean, that's okay to be embarrassed and or all of those things, but it's how long do you hold on to them, and how do you work through different things? I know I'm going to give a shameless plug here for the movie, and I still cannot believe Susie hasn't seen it. I myself haven't seen the second one yet, and I'm so sad about it. But Inside Out, if nobody, maybe Pixar is going to pick this up and start sponsoring us, I'm sure, because we're giving them a shout out. The best movie, hands down, kids and adults. It talks about emotions. It talks about all the feelings that you have. And I can't get over how really good it is and impactful. So I don't know. Might
Best
be a little
movie.
feel good. It is so
Best movie
good.
ever. The very first thing I thought of actually when she said the topic, I said Inside Out. I think
So good.
every human should watch it. It should be schools. I mean, people with their
Absolutely.
kids, adults. It is so good. And I have seen the second one twice in theaters. And it
Where
is
was I?
absolutely amazing. It touches on adolescence. So you definitely got
I
to
love it.
check that one out, Lindsay.
Yes, I did. I know I do. I keep saying me and Susie are going to have a slumber party and I'm going to make her sit for an hour and a half, people. Hear it here first. Susie is going to sit still for an hour and a half. I'm going to make her.
I do want to see it. I've heard so many positive things, and I love that people are talking about our feelings, and having access to it like this so that people can learn and make it fun and relatable. That is so huge. So yes, I'm gonna make it my mission, guys. By the time next time we talk, I'm gonna watch that movie, okay?
Uh-oh.
Yes, yeah.
We've got it recorded.
Here it is. Yep. Okay, so kind of in recap here, we're gonna kind of wind down here, but talking about feelings today, that it's okay to have them, that we're gonna have a lot of them for the rest of our lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. It makes life worth living, actually, when you have, the good and the bad and all that. And life would be boring if we just were blah and just had nothing.
Yep.
So being aware of them, like Tiffany said, and naming it, taming it, know what that feeling is, and then how do you deal with it in a healthy way? Rather than shoving it under the rug, how can you process it? What does it look like for you? It looks nothing probably like your partner or a best friend or coworker. Deal with it in your own way that's healthy, and then communicate and express it. And if you can do that, it's going to build your relationships. It's going to make you a stronger person. You're going to feel healthier. And it's just a win-win in general. So if you have any feedback about this episode, or you, like Lindsay said, want to hear more, we would love to have feedback and to keep growing this podcast, growing you, growing me, growing all of us together. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks for joining us, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had fun.
Thanks for being on. Well, thank you guys so much. To be sure to follow us on Facebook. That's where you'll find all of our latest and greatest. And definitely reach out if you guys have anything that you'd like to hear from us. Thanks so much.